Speaker.
David Clendon.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Speaker. This is a good bill. As my colleague Mr Coates has said, the Greens will be supporting it. It does some sensible thing. It enables individuals, members of the public, businesses, government agencies to communicate with each other online where that's appropriate and helpful for all parties concerned. I think it's important, though, that this bill does get a fairly rigorous look at the Government Admin Committee, and I'm sure it will. It's not a committee I've ever sat on, but I have no reason to doubt that they will do anything but a good job. There are aspects to this bill that are not worrying, but are potentially, I just think there are matters in it, particularly some assumptions that seem to sit within the bill about, not least of all, about people's access to digital tools. We heard the word ubiquitous from Mr Hudson, and in our lives, yes, it is. It's hard to get away from the wretched devices, that the electronic leash, as I often call them, in fact. It's expected one will answer that email at 11:30 at night or 5:30 in the morning. So be it, that's what we sign up for. We also have to recognise, though, and again, Mr Coates, my colleague, mentioned the digital divide. I've seen that up fairly close and personal in Northland. There's a wonderful program called Computers in Homes, whereby parents come into the schools, learn how to use a computer, mostly for the first time. At the completion of a course, they've shown some commitment. They're gifted a computer, a modem. They're assisted to get the thing set up, assisted with an internet connection, with a person to support them in those first few months, or if anything goes wrong. The purpose being to engage, well, two really, to engage parents in their children's education, and to make sure when those kids go home from school, there's a computer in the home to assist them with their study and their work. It's a great program, but it does demonstrate the fact that a need for it exists, proves that particularly low-income homes, and again, elderly people, where we can't just assume that that facility is available. Rural areas are often compromised in terms of internet access by often very poor connectivity. Speaking not so long ago to a business in Hokianga, an art gallery essentially, wanting to sell artwork online. For that you need a good, fast, high-quality connection, which they simply didn't have, and therefore that particular aspect of the business is compromised. So we ought to be just a little bit thoughtful about any assumptions that any and everybody can use digital technology. The point of that being that nothing, as I read it in this bill, suggests that the existing ways and means of communicating with government agencies will be removed. Presumably one can continue to choose paper or fax or whatever it might be, but I think it's important that we maintain that flexibility, that we maintain the whole suite of opportunities, of mechanisms for people to engage with government agencies in particular. Mr Dunn, in presenting the bill, made the point that New Zealand is at the forefront in many ways of this sort of technology, and we're very willing to take it up. But we also have to make sure people do maintain the option that nobody is disadvantaged by the move to digital forms. So the question, one or two of the points I'd make in my very few remaining minutes. There's in the introductory statements, the explanatory note, the point is made that statutory declarations enhance the integrity of an interaction. It does provide a level of security for these interactions. It would be, and that ways will be found to verify in alternative ways that a digital interaction is equally secure. I'm slightly nervous about the fact that that there aren't some means identified. I understand that it's never smart to embed technical solutions into legislation because they change or they evolve over time. But I'd like to see something a little bit more robust, perhaps, some key principles around what level of security might look like, just a little bit more guidance as to how we will ensure that people's identity, because essentially that's what we're talking about, that people's personal information will not be lost or compromised in any way. Similarly with photographs, the use of making online photographs more accessible. All good stuff, but let's just be aware of the security risks and ensure they're covered off. Thank you.
Cool.